Not for educational purposes, a How Did We Get Here Productions production. In this podcast, we take random subjects we know nothing about and attempt to learn more about them using the internet while we careen off topic and see how far away from the original subject we can get. This podcast is so unhinged that we lost the door centuries ago. There will be nonsense, chaos, a fair bit of swearing, and occasionally some triggering topics such as sex, drugs, death, blood, and other unsavory things. So if any of those things make you squeamish, or if you're under the age of 18, please listen at your own discretion.
Hey guys!
Ta-da! We're here!
Welcome.
Oh my god, in like a regularly, sort of somewhat regular schedule. Gasp, shock, dismay. Who knew?
Dismay. I know. We're on time. We're not just like months later. But I'm actually trying to get shit together. So hopefully we'll be here semi-regularly.
Yeah.
Very excited. Very excited. How
Should
are
I do?
you?
I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm a little bit of a mess and my hair is driving me wild, and I didn't go climbing before this, so I'm gonna have to go climbing after, and I've got dinner later, and then I've got a stream, and everything's fine. I'm fine.
That sounds like a really busy schedule.
No, it's fine. If I had actually gotten my ass out of bed earlier, I would have been able. But I didn't, so here we are.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. The only reason that I actually got up and went to the gym and stuff is because my dog wakes me up at 7 a.m. every morning.
I feel like that's because you used to wake up at that time to go to your old job, and now Lotus is just used to it.
So it used to be at 6 a.m. because I would get up at 6 a.m. to go and do it. And then I quit letting them out, and Sabrina started letting them out. And so she would get up at 8 and let them out. And now now that the time changed and we're all back an hour, she's like, 7 o'clock is now 8 o'clock. And it's like, that's not how that works. Let me sleep. And it's not even I typically get up between 7:30 and 8 in the morning anyway. That's just the time that I naturally wake up. It's that I wake up and immediately am overstimulated because she's screaming. And I was freaking dogs. Anyway.
Should I do the tarot reading of the day?
Are we gonna do that first, or?
I don't know. Do we want to do it now, or do we want to do it at the end?
Let's do it at the end. We did it at the end last time.
Did we? I don't remember. I fully don't remember.
Yeah. If you're a Patreon member, you get a tarot reading at the end.
I can also roll a
banter.
d20. I can roll a d20 for a luck check of the day.
Yeah, that would be fun. Let's do that. Let's do that for our Patreon listeners. So, if you listen on Patreon, go and check that out. If not, here's just some regular banter for you, I guess, which I hope is fun. BT Dubs, I'm Nova. Hello, if you've been here.
Hello, I am Kai. If you hear me drinking, it's because I have tea.
That is fair. It is earlier in the morning for you. Is it noon for you?
It's 12:30. This ain't early. I'm just late. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Oh. Well, we're on different time, in completely opposite time zones of North America. So, or on the continent.
Yes. Of North America. You were correct.
Is North America the continent? Okay. Yeah, because it's North America and South America. I'm just a dumb American. It's that. Yeah.
You're not though. You just don't trust yourself.
No, I don't, because I'm worried that I'm gonna say something that's wrong, and someone's gonna be like, "That's wrong," and then I'm gonna implode from shame.
Okay, but here's you want to know the beauty of podcasting? You can say stuff that is wrong, and I will correct you, and then you can just delete it from the podcast forever.
Yes, but I won't. Because I feel like that's part of the charm.
Oh my god!
I say something stupid, and then you're like, "No, that's wrong," and correct me, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that was dumb." And then everyone else gets to enjoy that as well.
Oh dear.
I feel like if I say stupid stuff and then people listen, then they can feel less dumb about also saying stupid stuff. So, like, I'm really taking the bullet here.
I have the opposite problem. I'm far too self-aware.
Oh no. Like,
If I'm worried I'm gonna say something dumb, I don't say anything at all.
Oh. See, I can't stop myself. Like, there is nothing in between the words that happen in my brain and my mouth. Like, it
Zero
just,
brain to mouth filter.
no, it just all comes out and then it gets me into trouble.
I have like 5,000 brain to mouth filters. Like,
Yeah. You're like, hold on, I gotta think this through. Okay.
everything goes through, like, gotta get through like a little maze, and then you gotta like solve a little puzzle, and then you gotta, like,
Yeah, you do a little dungeon crawl.
little dungeon crawl. And then eventually you reach the end, and then the words happen. And by that point, we're already 3 seconds into the next conversation. So
That would be a problem.
I like that we're both neurodivergent, but we're like different ends of it.
And which is wild because we have the same neurodivergence.
It's true.
Like,
We're both like slightly autistic and ADHD.
just in very different
Just
directions.
different sides.
Two roads converged in a yellow wood.
I suppose that's why they call it a spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. That's true. I feel like it's less like a straight line and more like wibbly wobbly.
It's a big ball of wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff. You are absolutely correct.
Tism wism. Oh man. I do have lots of questions.
Yay!
That I can like set us off on.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
Pick a random number 1 to 20, I guess.
5.
Ah, great. Who came up with the first AI? Where did that come from?
Lord.
I'm sorry. To be fair, these questions, some of these are like months old. Just write them down.
Technically Alan Turing.
Who the fuck is that?
Alan Turing. So he is very, very famous.
Obviously not famous enough.
Well, he created so he published his work Computer Machinery and Intelligence, which eventually became the Turing test, which experts used to measure computer intelligence. The term artificial intelligence was coined and came into popular use.
In what year?
So, technically 1950. It happened between 1950 and 1956. It wasn't a fast process.
Wait, okay. Was this before or after?
I suppose we do need to decide when computers existed.
Like, because do you determine the intelligence of technology, like, as computer-based? Or, like, that tractor works real well?
Well, so the tractors don't have their own brains, first of all. Let's start there.
Oh, I guess it would have to have a brain. I knew that it didn't have a brain, but
so
like
the point of the computer is that the computer is the brain. That's what that is. So in order for a tractor to have a brain, it has to have a computer, and therefore we're back to the point of when were computers invented. So
do other things, like technology-wise, have brains? Or is it just like computer-based stuff?
all artificial brains are computers. That's what they are. Your phone is a computer.
Well, yes. I mean, without, if it doesn't, like, not something with a screen, because there's like technology, like I guess a light bulb is technically technology, but it doesn't have a brain.
It
Like,
doesn't
tractor
have a brain unless it's a
What are those, like, smart house?
like a smart light bulb has a little tiny computer chip in it. For example, like if it's something you can program, basically. Also, cars have had little computers in them for a while, like things that, depending on whether or not, I mean, even if stuff is like analog or digital, there's going to be something in there that when something gets low, it tells your car to light up a thing on your dashboard, tells you, hey, this is getting low. Regardless of whether or not those things are analog or digital, something in there is compiling information. And that's why newer cars are like, they're computers. They're computers in
I
boxes.
follow that.
Yeah.
Computers with seats in them. That's
basically.
But do tractors not like set up lights and stuff when something's wrong? Are they not like?
Well, no, there's a difference between like a programmable computer and like a computer's an umbrella term.
Yeah.
So if you really take the tractor apart and you find the little chip and you plug it into something, you can probably reprogram. Yes, there's a brain in there, but it's a very, very, very small, not super high functioning brain. It's like comparing the brain of a goldfish to the brain of a cat.
Okay, I follow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, goldfish are pretty darn smart, but they have a certain set of, like, things that they do, whereas cats kind of can take in more information and, like, remember stuff for long.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out when the first computer was in.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
I will take you.
This is, yes, history. I don't want aid of computation. I don't want calculators. I want computers. Thank you. Computation is different.
Computation? What is computation?
Well, so a computer, the word computer comes from the word to compute, which is a math thing. Computers were invented for math. That's what they were invented for.
What was
basically
the original?
they were computation is math. That's what you're doing. When you do math, that's what it is.
Computers originally just giant calculators?
Pretty much, yeah. I think so. They were used to calculate stuff.
Like what?
Just automatically so that we didn't have to do it because we're lazy.
I feel like that's the point of a calculator. That's why calculators. But
yes.
If it was originally, so did like computers come before calculators? Well, I guess you got to.
Calculators came way before computers. Have you ever heard of the abacus?
Oh yeah, like
yeah,
boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
I mean, like pokey button.
No, well, that was a computer, and then it, like evolution, it split.
Okay, I follow.
Okay, we're not going to do analog computers because I'm not counting those.
What is an analog computer?
I'm not even going to read that part. That's I don't want to know. That's too much information.
It's too early. You just woke up.
It's too early. So there's electromechanical, which means that they used electricity to do mechanical stuff, which basically, how do I describe this? Yeah, electromechanical analog computer. So it's like taking a clock. You know how analog clocks are run by batteries?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But analog clocks have a physical hand, they have a gear, they've got bits and bobs, right?
Yeah.
So that would be something analog, as opposed to digital, which is just computer.
Wait, there are analog computers?
There were. You have to remember that computer at this time means math calculation. At this point in time, computers are used for math. They're giant calculators.
Yes. So they're just like someone put a bunch of gears together and like made each gear.
It's a big abacus. Just think of it as a big abacus. That's what a computer is at this point.
They made each gear like a...
Yeah. Yep. They had to make each individual gear and then they had to use, at some point, they started using electricity to move the gears so that you didn't have to move the gears yourself. That being the electromechanical analog computer. That's what this is.
What?
It was a torpedo data computer, which used trigonometry to solve a problem of firing a torpedo.
Of course it was used for...
Yeah, we used it for destruction because...
Because why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
That's wild.
Yeah, so early digital computers were electromechanical. Electric switches drove mechanical relays to perform calculations. And then they started using vacuum tubes.
What?
I don't know.
How?
The Z2...
You just suck all the math up. You just...
Yeah.
I have the math now.
Conrad Zuse invented the quote-unquote modern computer in 1939.
So like the one that does...
Well, this was like the birth of the modern computer. So basically every computer after this point was building off of this model.
Okay, so this is the one that like takes up a whole room?
Yeah.
Or like, is this one still just do math?
This one's still mostly math, but it is taking up the whole room, absolutely.
That's such a... Like, I know that evolution has to happen in, like, the computer world for, like, to get to here. But that seems like such a... He was much more dedicated to that than I would have been, because I would not... That'd been a waste of space to do math. I mean, Sabrina might be the one that would be like, yeah, I'd use a whole room for math. But I mean, I guess that's what math class is.
Technically, yes, you're not wrong.
But still, like, a whole giant room of boop, boop, bebopping machine things just to, like, solve a math equation?
Yeah, and then Turing came around. Good old Alan.
The famous guy that I don't know.
The famous guy that you don't know, yeah, him.
Maybe it's because I don't know him because he was a math guy, and so
he was definitely a math guy.
I'm just like, nah, it's not really my thing.
So the ENIAC, which stands for Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer, so math.
Yeah.
Was the first electronic programmable computer. So they could actually tell the computer to do things and like change its programs to do it.
Wait, don't they have to? If it's a giant calculator, don't you have to do that to get it to do different calculations, or are they like one calculation and they gotta throw it away and make a whole new one?
They can do that, yeah, but they can also like set a code. So if you tell it like, I want you to solve for this all the time, that would be programming it. And then you just plug in the numbers. And if you wanted to change that programming, then you could go in and change it. So that would be what programmable is.
Yeah, but what about the program? Before they were able to program it, they had to like...
They'd probably have to do it manually as opposed to digitally.
Oh, okay. To like go on the insides and be like...
Change, swatch some stuff around, feed it a something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm very much paraphrasing here.
Feed it a rupee to get it to work.
Yeah, something like that.
So like, because in my brain, I was like, okay, so if they're not programmable, they can only do one math equation all the time. So you just have one machine that takes up a whole room to do a singular math equation all the time.
I don't think that's what that is.
Okay.
Programmable meaning you can feed it a math equation. You can feed it, say like, hey, I want you to do this math equation and only this math equation, and I'm going to give you some numbers. And then if it will continue to spit out answers to that math equation. And then if you wanted to change that math equation, you can. So you can tell it to erase that and create a new one. With the old ones, you couldn't tell it to store a math equation. You had to individually type in the entire thing every time. I'm pretty sure that's what that means.
Okay, I follow.
So it wasn't like they only had one thing they could do. They had to actually do the whole thing every single.
Yeah, instead of like it still had a process. Yes. You had to like be like, this is my question.
Fun thing about the ENIAC though. Yes, so once they had to write the program by itself. Once a program was written, it had to be mechanically set into the machine with manual resetting of plugs and switches. So that's what the programming was.
Okay.
The programmers of the ENIAC were 6 women, often known collectively as the ENIAC girls.
Wait, I feel like I knew this. Why did I know about this?
Because women.
I saw this somewhere. I could not tell you any information beyond I knew that this, like, you saying those words triggered this memory of like the women that like discovered like made computer stuff or like did something scientific. Like that's also like, isn't there a lady that like did the most of the calculations for like space travel or something?
Yeah, there's a whole movie about it.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of the movie, but in particular, she was a black woman, which is very important.
Yeah.
Because that was real weird at that time. I do not remember the name of the movie. I've heard it was very good. So yes, computers were, like 1943-ish was when this happened.
Okay.
And then AI started 1950 to 1956.
So I'm gonna need you to repeat that. Computer started
not the first computer, but like the start of the digital age of computers and the programmable computers was around 1943.
Okay. And then AI intelligence tracking was like,
well, not AI intelligence tracking. It's not so much
the test.
Yes, the paper that the test was based off of was written between 1950 and 1956. So about 7 years after the first digital.
So what exactly were they testing?
Whether or not a computer could give you an answer by itself.
Like Google, or like an abstract idea?
I don't know, because the difference in our definition of AI and their definition of AI is...
What would they consider AI?
Okay, so this definition of artificial intelligence is a specialty within computer science that is concerned with creating systems that can replicate human intelligence and problem-solving abilities. So basically, it's the computer's ability to problem solve. So if you give it a problem and you don't give it any instructions, can it solve that problem? That's like, can it take what it knows and also search for other things? If it doesn't know how to solve the problem, can it learn how to solve the problem by itself?
Huh. Okay, yeah.
And if it can't, and then you feed it something, and it absorbs it, and then you give it the problem again, can it do it now? It's a lot of like...
It's just, can it learn?
Can it learn? That's the thing. Yeah.
Okay. Is that not what we base AI off of now? Like,
it
can
is.
It learn independently?
Yeah, I just don't know what it was back then.
That's wild. Okay, so if we came up with the first AI test, who made like the first artificial intelligence that was able to like
You're talking
learn?
about robots? What do you... I might need you to whittle that down a little. What do you mean?
I think so. Well, I guess, is like Google AI, does it learn? I feel like any sort of algorithm is based in AI, isn't it?
It can be. Hang on a second, let me do some reading.
I feel like I require you to get a whole new degree every single time we get on this podcast. Like, god damn it, now I gotta become an expert in this.
Write a whole thesis.
It is. It's literally just like cramming a project last minute.
Yep. Okay, interesting. So, 1950, Alan Turing published Computer, Machinery, and Intelligence, which proposed a test of machine intelligence called the Imitation Game. That's why that's the thing. That was a movie featuring Alan Turing. It was a whole thing. 1952, a computer scientist named Arthur Samuel developed a program to play checkers, which is the first to ever learn the game independently. So if you know when you play the game against a computer?
Yeah.
That's an AI. You're playing against artificial intelligence.
I guess because they have to make different moves every time. That makes sense.
Yeah. And they also have to learn from your moves, ideally. So in 1955, John McCarthy held a workshop at Dartmouth on artificial intelligence, which is the first use of the word. So AI maturations happened between 1957 and 1979. AI became mainstream pretty quickly because people got really, really into robots.
Yeah. I feel like there's whole like robotics clubs. I feel like that happened like as, I don't know, I don't want to say as like we were growing up, but I feel like it was, or like right before we were like in like middle school, elementary school, robots were like a thing.
They were a thing for sure.
Really into it.
And like that was, granted, I feel like this is a very Western look at it. Because like robots and automatons and all of that, I think were a big part of Japan before the US were like, yeah, I guess we could look into that.
Yeah.
But I also don't know because it doesn't say. In 1970s, showed the first anthropomorphic robot being built in Japan. There we go. The US did not really care about AI at the time.
No, I feel like the US was just more about like fighting drugs at that time. They were like,
it was
no drugs,
and was the AIDS crisis in the 70s or was that the 80s? I don't remember. Bad at my gay history.
I don't know.
It was the 80s.
I do not remember. Like I did not learn about the AIDS crisis until like my 20s. It wasn't like not a thing that my school went over. Like at
no,
all.
Of course not. Where'd you go to school?
Well, I went to Bibb County schools in Georgia. So you know, garbage. It's awful. Like I feel like it's I have had more than one reaction of just like, I'm stupid. I went and people are like, no, you're not. And I'm like, I went to this kind of school and they were like, oh, maybe you are a little dumb. Like, yeah, I definitely, like, there's the whole no child left behind thing. I was definitely left behind. Like, I just happened to graduate.
I mean, to be fair, I didn't learn about it either. I feel like it was maybe touched upon, like, once, and then we never really talked about it again. And I feel like it was touched upon specifically in sex ed. And that was it. Yeah, because they were like, hey, don't do the thing.
Hey.
But if you're gonna, make sure you do all this, because if you don't, you're gonna get HIV and AIDS, and here's why that's bad. Also, let's forget that we ever talked about this.
Okay, so literally our sex ed class was it was a part of PE. Like,
good.
A month-long thing.
That's a great place to put that.
Where my old, white, short, and rather rotund PE teacher took us all, a class of like 15 to 20 students, into a back room in the gym with no windows. And we got to sit there every Tuesday and Thursday. And he gave us books to look at and papers to just fill out, and was like, fill out these papers and then you can leave. And that's what we did. It was like questions that we had to look up in the like sex ed textbook. There was no conversation. There was no out loud questions. There was just answer the questions on the paper and then leave. That was my sex ed.
No.
Thankfully, I was a theater kid growing up, so I had a plethora of people to teach me about sex ed.
Yay!
Like, I was like, I am part of a community that is open and willing to share information. Like, I didn't want to do anything in high school. It was not a thing that I was interested in, but I had, like I always have throughout my lifetime, many questions. I was like, I just need to know. I don't need to experience it. I just need to know the answers to these questions.
Yep. I don't want to go through it. Tell me the answer.
Yeah. It's like, I feel like it's the same as like, because sometimes when I watch TV shows with Sabrina, like, I can't handle anticipation. I need to know that all of the characters are going to be okay, and I need to know in what specific way they're going to be okay. Yep. So before we even get close to the end, I have to Google the answer, and that's what I feel like that was like. I was like, I don't want to experience it, but I need to Google the answer, and you, friend, are my Google currently.
Yeah. Every time I entertain watching a new show, particularly if the new show is labeled as like a melodrama, I'm like, okay, hold up, let me check.
Does anyone die? Does any
like,
dogs die?
Does anyone die? Are they happy at the end? Like, is it an open ending? No. Is it ambiguous? Absolutely not. Is it?
I hated open ending.
I need to know. I hate open endings.
I hate an open ending. It is the worst.
I almost hate an open ending more than a bad ending, because at least with the bad ending you get closure.
Yeah, and you can rant about a bad ending, and it can be fun. You'd be like, they shouldn't have blah blah blah.
Exactly, but open endings are just like, what happened?
Yeah, you wasted my time at that point.
Wasted my time!
You wasted my time because you promised me a story that be a thrilling story, a romantic story, a sad story, and then you didn't finish it. I feel like that's just a cop-out. You're just like anytime someone's like, oh, well, you're meant to fill in the gaps on your own, like, and use your own No,
you got lazy.
Here to experience someone else's imagination, not my own.
Exactly.
That is a hellscape that I do not wish to live in all of the time. No.
So glad we're of the same mind. Another interesting date, 1966. Joseph, I don't know how to pronounce that, created the first chatterbot, which was a chatbot. Her name was Eliza. She was a mock therapist.
Oh, for lonely people. Okay.
Yes.
Did she actually help, or was she just like, humans are weak?
I don't know. But 2 years later, a different mathematician who also has a name that I cannot pronounce they're Russian, published a group method of data handling, which proposed a new approach to AI, which would later become what we now know as deep learning.
Deep learning?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fair.
If I had to guess, it's a computer that like really dives deep into that's my guess.
Oh, so just an autistic computer.
Yeah. A computer with
like,
special interests.
I need to know this information.
I don't know when exactly the first quote-unquote AI was created, because again, I think the definition between now and then is different, but it was sometime between 1957 and 1987.
That's a long time.
I think it's in there somewhere. Oh, there's agents. Okay. 1997 was when Deep Blue was created. That computer beat the world chess champion. So that was a computer that learned as it was playing, and it beat a human in chess. The first time that it ever happened.
I know that sounds like a really big accomplishment, but and probably back then, yes, that was a huge accomplishment. Like back in the 19 like whatevers, like whoa. But like today, in today's world, like that doesn't feel like a brag. Just like, yeah, it's a computer. They're smarter than us.
But see, that's what I mean. Like back then, they didn't have the type of artificial intelligence that we have.
Yeah.
So for that to have happened was like, what the fuck?
Like, whoa.
It learns. Like,
that's
okay,
wild.
Well,
see,
yeah.
I feel like in today's world, like for a human to be like a really top computer in chess, that would be like, wow, you're a really smart person.
So
Or
I don't
just
know.
clever.
Maybe 1997.
Okay, I feel like
Who
that's a
knows?
solid answer.
Yeah.
I feel like
It was sometime. Let's go with sometime after 1980. That feels good.
okay, I can get behind that. I don't know. I feel like that answer, like from what we just learned in that brief time, is mostly like AI, like is sort of like how if like evolution worked. Like it started with a small thing and like grew. So there's no like this is the moment. Like not like this is the moment we as people were the people that we are today.
Yeah.
Back then.
In the same way that evolution in birds is a slow process. At what point do you decide that a bird is now a different bird?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's a slow thing. It wasn't a rapid, like, this is the moment artificial intelligence happened, or this is the moment computers were created. It was like, no, this is a this is a slow thing.
Yeah, it's a slow burn.
Yes, unless you count the last 5 years, in which case it is now no longer a slow burn, and it is terrifyingly fast.
It's a downward spiral at this point.
I would like it to slow down, please. This is too fast. This is too fast for me.
So do you want to take a really sharp left turn and learn something that I've learned recently?
Sure.
It's disturbing.
Oh, good.
Okay. Cool. You know that dogs have like anal sacs, right?
Uh-huh.
And like sometimes they have to like be expressed because they acted and shit. I was a vet tech for a very long time, so anyone doesn't know. And
oh yeah, trigger warning for gross medical shit.
Yeah, here's some gross medical shit. Humans have 12 of those.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's now information that you get to be cursed with as well. Not only did I learn that information once, I had to re-look it up for the other podcast that I do. Cool. Yeah, because I had to talk about a guy eating a butthole.
Ew.
I know, I hate it. I hate it so much. It's my least favorite. But now we all get to know that.
No. Knowledge.
Yay!
Yay, knowledge.
Let's find something interesting. Okay. Oh, okay. We're gonna just make a little triangle of information that does not connect with each other at all.
Sick.
Coconuts are a fruit?
Yeah.
Are they not a nut?
No.
What? How? What do you? What? Why are they classified as a fruit and not a nut? I mean, I know they're huge, but like they look like a nut that falls off.
So.
Oh wait, no, because they don't actually look like the little brown furry things on the trees, do they? No, do they?
Okay. So, coconut fruits are. You want to know a super fun fact? Let me start with this. Vegetables don't exist.
What do you mean?
Vegetable is a made-up category. It does not exist. All vegetables are either fruits, flowers, stalks, or roots of plants.
I hate this.
That's all vegetables are.
Oh no. Wait, okay, so, but okay, by that same coin, isn't like all words and categories like made up?
Yes and no. Fruits are defined as things that grow off of plants that have seeds.
Okay.
So if like a tomato is a fruit because
Yes.
it has seeds in it. A coconut is a fruit because it has seeds in it.
A coconut has seeds inside of it?
Yes, it does.
Wait, what? What do you mean by that? Where is it holding its seeds? Is it just
On the inside.
rattling around in the coconut juice?
Pretty much, yeah.
What?
So coconuts fall under a subcategory known as drupes, which are defined as fruits that have an inner flesh and seeds surrounded by a hard shell. So like pears, peaches, apples.
Pears have a hard shell?
Well, they're hard on the outside.
Pears?
Ish. You could eat them, but they're you knock on them, you're not like poking into flesh immediately.
Maybe we'd be eating different types of pears. I feel like pears are really easy to like squish.
But you're not poking the flesh of the fruit immediately.
That's fair.
Walnuts count. And so do almonds.
What? Wait. What is a nut? What is classified as a nut? Other than myself, apparently.
A nut is a fruit.
What? So are nuts a made-up category as well?
Yes.
Is everything made up? Everything's made up and fruits are the only thing that actually exists. That's what I've learned here.
Only fruits are real. Yes, so a nut is a fruit consisting of a hard or tough nutshell protecting a kernel which is usually edible. That's what a nut is.
What? So are all nuts just like seeds of the inside of a fruit?
Possibly. I don't think so.
What is the classification of a fruit? I'm sorry, I just keep cutting you off.
In botany, a fruit is the seed-bearing structure in flowering plants that is formed from the ovary after flowering.
Plants have ovaries?
Yes. They also often have their version of penises.
What?
Yeah, that's how pollen works.
I feel like they don't need a penis though. They don't need anything to like go in something. They just need like testicles, like pollen.
Yeah, same idea.
Oh.
Like, is that the stamen? Yeah, stamens.
I feel like I should have.
Some plants have both. Actually, all plants have both. Sometimes they make different flowers with different bits. So like one flower will have one thing and the other flower will have the other. Some flowers have both shoved into one flower. Like tulips.
Oh, I feel like that's really convenient.
But then there's also like some trees. I don't know. Some trees are considered male and some trees are considered female. Like the pine trees, like some of them make cones with the dust and some of them make cones that accept the dust.
Are those like eggs where like one lets out the eggs and one lets out the pollen and then they just like land somewhere? They're like, well, good luck, friend.
Sometimes.
There's no like
but
incubation.
more often it's that this is why pollinators are so important. Specifically with trees, particularly trees like pine trees and cedar trees and like needle type trees, evergreens, I guess we could call them. They will just like release their dust into the wind, and then that dust ends up on another tree with cones that want the dust. And those cones take the dust, they form the seeds, then those cones break apart into seed bits, and those seed bits fall away or fly away or something like that. With flowers, typically flowers need a pollinator of some kind, whether that be birds or flies or bees or some kind of flying thing, or a deer that happens to walk past and brush onto something and then brush onto something else. So those ones take all of the when they're picking up the nectar or the pollen or whatever, it gets stuck to them, and then they go fly into a flower of a different plant, and all of that little polleny bit is given to the bit that wants the pollen, and then that turns, when the flower dies, it turns into a seed or a bunch of seeds, and then that is the part that falls, and it goes, wee, seed time.
Wow, okay. So what happens if, oh, is that how that happens? Where like if the pollen of no, hold on, I might be asking a really dumb question.
No,
where the pollen of a flower of one, what happens if like the pollen of a flower of one species ends up on the cones that need the pollen on a flower of a different species? Do they like get together and then like make a new plant?
Sometimes that happens, but not very often. But you can, I mean, people make that happen sometimes. Like if you want a new version of tomato, you can take one tomato and splice it with another tomato and then like make a new tomato. The likelihood of that happening between, say, a cherry blossom tree and a tulip, not very likely. They have to be of a similar species, then maybe it can happen. So like different color varieties. Sometimes freaks of nature happen and you get plants just getting freaky with each other, but it doesn't happen that often in nature. In nature, it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, but people
like to go, ooh, stuff, and fuck with things that they're not supposed to fuck with.
That's wild. Because I was wondering if it was like, you know how like people get like, because you get Labradors and like poodles and you have them things together and then you get a Labradoodle. I was wondering if it was like that. Like you get a tulip and a pansy and
well, I mean, dogs are dogs.
A tulip.
Right? Dogs are they're dogs.
Yeah.
If you put any dog with another dog, it's gonna create a dog.
Yeah.
I think what you're more thinking of here between like a tulip and a pansy would be more like a horse and a donkey creating a mule.
Yeah.
Or like a tiger and a lion creating a liger.
Yeah.
Because like most dogs are from the same genome, I think. Like most of the dog breeds that we have today are all from an original dog. They're all from the same dog. Way back when, right?
Yeah.
Like kind of how all people are from the same person.
Yeah.
But with cats, like tigers versus lions, they are cats, but they're different types of cats. Like they're not from the same original cat in a way. Yeah. I don't know how to explain that, but they're different. Like you can't mate a house cat with a lion. You're not going to create something. They're wrong.
Yeah.
And you might create something, but it might not be able to reproduce. That's the trick. Is the getting the reproduction to be able to reproduce.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because like donkeys and horses are from the same overall species, but they're different enough that mating them makes something that cannot mate itself.
Yeah.
Effectively.
I guess that wouldn't be, so I was thinking it like in like equivalents being like wolves and dogs, but like wolves and dogs can make crossbreed.
Yes, because most dogs came from, or some similar type of thing. I don't know how this works. I'm mostly guessing. But like, I feel like most dogs came from some kind of wolf.
So what? So, cause, okay, I feel like this is gonna be the last like fact thing. because I have heard that cats essentially domesticated themselves, and they have
did.
changed very little since they did so.
Yep.
Like the original cat is essentially cats. What we have today. So is that why they don't have like an equivalent like dogs and wolves? Like cats don't have like a cat and strange cat species that they could have possibly come from, because they just are the thing that they were
pretty
originally.
much. I watched a documentary on that when I was like 12, so you're gonna have to forgive me for my lack of proper memory.
You are fine.
But there is a species of wildcat that is very, very close to a domestic cat in terms of like size and specifically coloration. And
is it that little tiny, like the best killer in the animal kingdom?
It's not.
Okay.
No, that one's very small. that one's like this big.
It's much smaller than that.
Yeah, it's tiny.
Yeah.
No, there is a type of wildcat that is like, if you saw it in the woods, you might think that it's like a domestic cat. It's a little bigger. They're a bit bigger, and they're not quite right. It's like they're just a little, ever so slightly, like they're not quite a domestic cat, but they're very close. And that species also has been basically unchanged however long. But they're thinking that was possibly the breed that turned themselves into domestic cats. And the way that the cats domesticated themselves was, I guess, basically humans came along, there were mice, and the cats were like, oh, these people keep on living, and because they live the way they do, they have a bunch of like mice that I can catch. And also there's this barn here that happens to be nice and warm. Why don't I just stay?
Yeah. Like, this is nice.
And then the cat hunts the mice, and then the humans see the cat hunt the mice and go, oh, well, I'm not going to kick you out because you're hunting my mice for me. And like, maybe I'll give you a snack. And the cats are like, dope, bro.
It's like, why don't we be friends?
Why don't we be friends? But yeah, they've basically completely unchanged because there was nothing to change. We never tried to train cats because the cats trained themselves to do the thing that they wanted to do. Yeah. Like there was no need for that, you know?
Yeah. They're still you cannot train a cat.
That is a lie. You can train a cat. You just have to you have to be different about it. It's not like training a dog.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like, I was able to get Hook to do, like, high five. Yeah. I feel like when training a cat, it's more like you're trying to help it understand what you would like to do. Like, it's like a communication of, like, hey, let's do this thing. Versus a dog, you're training the dog. You're like, that's the correct word.
It's like, when I had a cat, because I basically took on, not the training of the cat, but that was, but I eventually, like, trained him to not jump on the counters. Because every time he'd get on the counter, I'd lift him up and put it back down. Be like, hey, get off. And he'd be like, oh, all right.
Oh, man.
And also to, like, not scratch the furniture. Granted, he was never a furniture scratcher anyway. We gave him, he was an outdoor cat. He would scratch on the trees. He'd get all of that outside. But, like, the one time he tried to scratch the couch, we had another cat in the house. It wasn't our cat. It was a neighbor's cat. That cat would try to scratch the furniture, and I'd be like, bro, And then my cat was like, oh, wait, I'm allowed to do that? And tried to do it, and I was like, hey! And he went, oh.
Oh, right. That's
right, sorry, my bad. And then he never did it again, and he was like, oh, right, I'm not allowed to do that. Let me just wander outside and do it on the outside of the house instead.
Yeah.
And then I won't get in trouble. It's like, okay.
I mean, we supply, all of our cats are indoor, and we supply them with, like, scratchers and stuff like that. I have never had much of a problem with most of my cats. Like, Hook will try to scratch some furniture pieces. He hasn't really done it recently, like, as he's gotten older. But, like, Toby and Bootsy, they've never scratched up stuff, which is
I mean, the other problem with, like, cats scratching up stuff is they don't just do it to, like, fix their claws. It's a scenting thing. So in the same way that like a dog will pee in the same spot every time, this moment the cat starts scratching on something, you got to fix that right quick, because if you don't, they're gonna scratch that thing forever.
Yeah. And that's I cannot. Oh man.
Anyway, in conclusion, nuts are fruits.
Nuts are fruits. Yeah. Humans have a lot of anal glands.
Yeah.
What else did we go over today?
Computers are just big calculators.
Yeah, they're just big math machines.
And tractors occasionally have brains. But not all the time.
But not only all sometimes. The time. I feel like that's the same for people.
Yeah.
But not all the time.
People are just tractors.
Yes, we're all tractors. I feel like that needs to be on a shirt somewhere.
That should be the title of the podcast. People are just tractors.
I need to write that down right now or I will forget it.
But you're not going to forget, because you're going to be, I mean, are you editing the podcast? Am I doing it? I don't know. We'll figure that out later.
I'm probably going to edit. I will edit it. It'll be fine.
Okay.
Sorry, you froze again.
That's fine. That's going to happen a lot. But that's okay. The nice thing about this is that we're both recording, so it will pick up both of our audios.
That's what I was thinking.
And we can splice it.
I will learn what you said later.
Yes.
Some of the sections I'll be like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I'm hoping when I move to the studio, I don't know what I'm going to do internet-wise. Like, I might run off of my own stuff, or like get a repeater or something out there. I'm hoping that'll fix part of the problem. Anyway, thank you for joining us for Not For Educational Purposes. I hoped you didn't learn something today. I know I certainly did. Just like every week. And I will forget, and then Nerd and I will have a conversation later, and I'll be like, oh, what do you mean? And she'll be like, we went over this. Well, whoops. Silly me. Anyway, you can go onto our links. Oh, we have an Instagram now.
We do, because Twitter sucks. So we're using Instagram now.
It's not under Not For Educational Purposes. It is our like overall like umbrella company thing.
Yeah.
It's How Did We Get Here Productions. You should go check it out.
Stylized as HDW. How HDWGH Productions. It's so difficult to remember. But, you know, the first letter of How Did We Get Here plus Productions.
Yes, that is it. Not only are like updates on this podcast going to be on there, but updates on the other podcast that I'm doing, our little true crime podcast, and anything else that we do under that is going to be posted there, and like information and stuff and just funsies. So go and follow that. Do we have any other updates?
I think we're good. I think that was the only one.
I never know how to end these.
Bye!
Bye!